Hi, everybody. I'm Amanda. This is Kevin
Hi there.
with a Smith Gallery, and this is Jeff Schewe, who is here today to talk about his retrospective body of work. What did we finally call it, Jeff?
A photographic retrospective.
Commercial to fine art, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
Welcome, Jeff.
Yes, welcome. Jeff received the Director's Award in the Trees exhibition, juried by Wendi Schneider, with a wonderful image called Swept Monterey Pine Trees. And it's in what we're going to look at today, so we'll get to see it. So Kevin Tully.
So let me get Jeff's bio here.
Kevin's going to read the bio.
Jeff Schewe's career is impressive and multifaceted, spanning over 4 decades in photography, particularly excelling in computer imaging and fine art printing. Here are the highlights of his education and career. Excuse me. Education, Illinois State University, pursued an art major, Rochester Institute of Technology, earned an associate's degree with honors in photographic arts, achieved a Bachelor of Science with highest honors in professional photography. Jeff Schewe's educational background, coupled with his extensive practical experience in photography and digital imaging, has shaped him into a renowned figure in the industry, particularly noted for his contributions to digital imaging, fine art printing, and digital photography. Career highlights: photography expertise, specializes in tabletop, location, and portraiture photography with a strong focus on computer imaging. An award-winning advertising photographer for over 30 years. Production control, involved in all aspects of production, including making models, designing sets, painting backgrounds, and employing computer imaging techniques. I'm suffering from allergies right now, so you have to excuse me. Jeff is an industry advocate, worked on behalf of the photo industry by spearheading the formation of a trade organization, American Media Artists, in 1982, and serving as chapter president in Chicago, then as national president in 1999. Other achievements: Adobe product development, PhotoKit product co-founder, educator, and lecturer. Was a sought-after lecturer for trade shows and conferences, including Photo Expo PMA, the Photoshop Conference by Thunder Lizard, and Photoshop World. He was a frequent instructor at the Santa Fe workshops and was chosen as the lead lecturer at Epson's Print Academy for over 25 events. Also was one of 5 instructors on 3 photographic expeditions to Antarctica. He's also an author, co-authored several books with Bruce Fraser and Martin Evening, and wrote 2 influential books published by Peach Pit Press, The Digital Negative and The Digital Print. Accolades: named an Epson Stylus Pro demonstrating his expertise in fine art printing, named an Apple Master of the Medium, inducted into the Photoshop Hall of Fame in 2006. Wow, man. How is your head still fitting in that frame up there?
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to get to that. It's a wide angle lens, you know. Yeah, thank you, Kevin. I actually, when I hear it, it's like, boy, I've been busy.
Yeah, you have.
Right. There's more. We're in lieu of trying to keep on time here, Jeff has a wonderful body of work. It's a black and white body of work that was shot in Antarctica, which has received much recognition lately from Shadow and Light magazine, let's see, Communication Arts, Photolucida, and also our photo selection by Michael Kirchhoff. Well, thanks, Jeff. That's really wonderful, and we really appreciate you doing this.
Kevin and Amanda, I really I enjoyed talking with you folks, and I actually enjoy submitting to your shows. I like the themes that you pick, and it's always a challenge to kind of go through my body of work and find stuff that is appropriate. And with the trees, I did so. And so that gives me the chance to have a virtual solo show at your gallery. So I thank you very much. Shall I go ahead and read my artist statement?
Absolutely. That's right.
Okay, so my journey into photography began as a refuge from the frustrations of painting, where my lack of drawing skills became painfully evident. In photography, I discovered a medium that offered spontaneity and a unique freshness that painting could not provide. Despite this shift, I've retained my deep-seated passion for light, color, and composition, originally nurtured through my early experiences with art and painting. Today, I approach photography with a painterly sensitivity and shaping my vision and perspective through the lens. I'm drawn to photographing a wide, diverse range of subjects, always striving to capture a distinctive point of view and visual treatment. Whether I'm exploring familiar surroundings or traveling to new places, my camera is a constant companion, ready to seize upon the moments and scenes that inspire me. While my photographic journey began in the traditional darkroom, I now work by using a computer to digitally manipulate my images. The allure of total power and control over my images that digital imaging allows is so seductive that I no longer maintain a darkroom. Despite the digital manipulation, I strive to work in a totally photorealistic manner, and I don't use AI to create pixels in my images.
Very good. Wonderful. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do now, Jeff, is screen share your images.
Okay.
Okay. I've got a question for you, Jeff.
Yes, sir.
So could you talk about what the transition from professional to fine art photographer has been like for you?
Do you want the truth?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth. No. It's been interesting and frustrating. Early on, I went to RIT, which is a preeminent school for photography, went into a fine art approach into commercial work, where I tried to create images that were other than just a simple rendering. And I also brought my artistic background into my model making, where I could actually create the subject that I would end up photographing. But yeah, I was doing it for money. And when I decided to quit actively commercial work in around 2001, 9/11 had a real negative impact on the advertising photography business. And that led me into other things like software development and teaching and writing books. So this, for example, is an example of how I would create the model, although it's David's face, and then use my own hands to hammer it. This actually is interesting. It's the first,
That's the one you're talking about?
and then,
Yeah.
that was the one that I was talking about. The next one is interesting in that it was the first image. The kitchen and cutting blocks was the first image that I used computer imaging to assemble two separate photographs into a single composite. And this was done in 1984. I did not do the computer imaging because although I had a Macintosh in '84, there was no ability to do computer imaging. Photoshop didn't even ship until 1990. But when I looked at this, it was like that kind of changed my outlook. Now, I had been influenced heavily by a photographer by the name of Jerry Ullsman, who did in darkroom photo compositing, to create multiple images to assemble into a final image. So he was a big influence in my early career. And then the next image in
Well,
particular.
Can I stop for a minute? I think we take
Yeah.
for granted the importance of this image, in that any particularly young photographer now would look at this and just naturally assume this is Photoshop, right?
Yeah.
And so this
Well, probably, yeah.
right. So this is all analog. And so
so it was put together by,
yes,
it was put together by computer.
Yes, right.
But not my computer.
But but the set had to be built, right?
Oh, yeah. The kitchen was really there.
Right.
The cutting block was really there. And we went to great pains to match up the perspective and the lighting, so that the computer artist down in Houston, actually, at a place called Digital Transparencies Inc., which isn't around anymore, but they ended up putting the two things together, added a little bit of chemical analog retouching to it. But then what I got back was a single 11:14 transparency of the two images combined. And I put a loop on it, a power loop, and it was like, well, okay, this changes everything. And then throughout the 80s, I would often do assignments where I would end up sending the work down to Raphael at Digital Transparencies Inc. to do the compositing throughout the 1980s. So that actually had a big impact on my career, because I learned how to photograph multiple images that could then be put together by computer.
Right. And how much time do you think is put into an image like this?
Well, on the production side, there were 2 or 3 days of pre-production. There was a shoot out in their kitchen where I was up on a scissors lift with an 8x10 camera and a great big strobe light, and we shot both of those shots at once. And then we sent the two images were photostated and then combined and cut and paste with X-Acto to give them an indication exactly how to composite it. And then it was 3 or 4 days or more. I guess it was probably closer to a week before we got the results back.
Right. So people that have only worked in the digital format, Photoshop, have no idea what it was like previously to create images like that.
In the old days, yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is one of my more famous images, originally done for the cover of a pharmaceutical company. But this was where I composited a photograph of a globe over the hands. And that was done in Photoshop. That was actually done in Photoshop 2.5 before layers.
Wow.
But actually, this would be very difficult to do just in layers. So after what ended up happening was that in 2011, I kind of exited the commercial advertising biz and started teaching and digital image book writing. And then I got kind of interested in taking a look at fine art photography. Now, the next series that you'll see, the cactus tintypes, really started because I had my little iPhone with an app called Tintype, and we ended up going to Tucson, where the saguaro cactus are, and I ended up photographing a whole bunch of shots of the cactus. Now, we went there because it was supposed to be warm on my birthday, and of course it snowed on my birthday, which apparently happens in upper altitudes, even down south. but this was shot originally on an iPhone, and then I wanted to add texture and control. I will admit to being a bit of a control freak. So I went beyond just what the app on the phone would offer and then did additional manipulation.
Well, let me ask you a question here. So you originally set out to be a painter, so obviously creativity and aesthetics were a part of your being. Can you talk about how finding the camera connected with that part of yourself? How does, can you tell us about going from wanting to paint to finding a camera and being a photographer? How did that work, and how does that affect your work to this day?
Well, I got, I was involved in the arts ever since I was a little kid, going to Springfield Art Association on Saturdays to learn art. The thing that I'd never learned was how to draw. And I wanted to be an illustrator, a painter, and I didn't think, it didn't occur to me that I could be an abstract painter and not have to draw. But I wanted to be able to actually control the medium, because again, control, I think, is important. As an artist, you want to be able to control the results and get down on paper what it is that you really want. So I ended up getting into theater set and lighting design because I was still very good at creating stuff and model making and set design. So then that is what led me into photography. And I had somebody say, they looked at my photographic work and said, well, you're pretty good. Maybe you ought to go to school for it. So I got married at the age of 19, but decided to go back to school and went to RIT to learn the technical aspects. And I absolutely loved, actually, we had books that we read, we had assignments that we had to do, we had, it was very technical, and I enjoyed learning the technical. So now what I could do is bring that technical expertise, the craftsmanship of creating photographic images, now to fine art photography.
Very good.
Here's the cactus in the snowstorm.
Right, absolutely, it's beautiful.
So the dancers and trees, it's an interesting evolution of the technique that I used for the cactus tintypes, and kind of making the photographs look more like photo reviewer, a
Right.
vintage antique process.
More like something made in the fine art printing process.
Correct. And the Monterey cypress, I just loved the gesture, similar to the cactus, the Aurora cactus, the nature of the design and the gesture, with texture added and that rough edge. Also, during a workshop, we were shooting dancers on the beach, and it's the same time I was shooting the Monterey cypress, and there's kind of a relationship of gesture and texture that I thought was appropriate.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, they work well together.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement. Excuse me. A lot of movement going on there.
It's beautiful.
How about Antarctica?
Well, this one is actually, I'll go back to the previous one if you could.
Okay. You see that?
Not quite yet. I believe that was the one that Wendi selected for the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good selection.
Okay, so.
Wonderful. The softness of those images in the background
Mm-hmm.
are fantastic.
Well, some of that is, well, it's post-production manipulation. So I can kind of add or subtract whatever I want to create the emphasis that I think is needed.
Very nice. Okay, now we're in Antarctica.
Get your coat out.
So this is what I did on my pandemic vacation. I couldn't travel. I couldn't do workshops. I couldn't go places. We were in lockdown here in Chicago. And so I went through my archives and I looked, I think successfully, for images that I had already photographed in Antarctica that would work well in black and white. Black and white is something that I fell in love with originally doing my own darkroom work. And so going back and of course, these were all digital captures from Antarctica. I've been fortunate enough to go as a photo instructor and get paid to go to Antarctica 3 times.
Wow.
And photograph 30,000 plus images that I had to go back through and mine my archives, basically.
30,000 images just of Antarctica?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Well, I shoot a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I got a little over 2 million images in my Lightroom catalog.
My
Wow.
goodness.
And maybe 5 or 6 of them are good. This is one of my favorites. Now, I will admit this is a composite. The wave swirling, I shot that iceberg and I saw the waves. And
You're talking about
I
this one?
shot the wave,
Yeah, okay.
the previous one,
Yeah.
the wave swirling on the iceberg.
Right.
So that wave was actually hitting that iceberg, but I shot the iceberg and the wave separately and then composited it together to get the gesture and the shape, the rhythm of the
Yeah.
contour.
You got those repetitive shapes, which is cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a very sensual image.
Mhm.
thank you.
And we're in the what was the name of the boat in Moby Dick? The Pequot?
Mhm.
I think we're on the bow of the Pequot right now with the camera. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, there's a thing called katabatic winds that come down off of it cold. Cold will gather on the upper altitude of glaciers and the wind blows straight down and that's what was hitting us.
Wow.
Plus the fact it was stormy, so.
Do you get seasick?
Well, we were worried about that, but just before we went down, we found out that scopolamine was available again in the US, and which is an anti-nausea, and I had patches all over.
Right.
So no, I never got seasick. Some
Good.
people did. They
Yeah.
had a hard time on the.
I really like this image.
This was shot in an area called the Iceberg Graveyard. It's a cul-de-sac, a bay in which the wind and the current drives the iceberg to ground. And it's icebergs from different places and different times, all kind of getting stuck together. And you can see there that the peaked one in the back is sharp and chiseled. The other ones are soft and eroded, and
Right.
it was just interesting to get the reflection.
So that darker iceberg in the back, that would that be blue? Would that be the color that would be with?
Yeah.
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 Wow. So I wonder why are some white and some blue? What's the difference? Do you know?
It's the amount of air trapped in the ice. With the less air, the stronger blue, the more the ice will filter out the red rays, basically.
Oh, wow.
And this is an example of, normally they wouldn't let you get this close to an iceberg because they can rotate, and they didn't want us to actually get dumped in the water. The water temperature here is about 34, 35 degrees.
Wow. You're not gonna last.
It wouldn't
very
last long if you were stuck in the water.
No, that's right.
Wow.
Okay, now the panoramas.
One of the things that I love doing when I go to wonderful locations and is I like to get there, and this is an example of Monument Valley. A buddy and I got there literally, we got there late and pulled the camera and tripod out, went running out to the overlook and set up the camera. And this was a 7-shot panoramic with a phase 1 P65 camera. So that's a 65 megapixel camera, 7 captures from left to right. So the panoramics are just really a way of capturing the grand vista. When I was a kid, I remember seeing How the West Was Won in Cinerama, I think. Where basically it was almost 180-degree theater screen, and that had a big impact on me. So now I love shooting wide panoramics.
Yeah, I went to see How the West Was Won on my birthday with about 6 of my friends. It was amazing.
So, of course, one of the things that Camera Raw and Lightroom, the software, in the old days, back in analog time or pre-software development, you had to have like a very special camera rig to be able to shoot the panoramics so that the software could assemble the images. Now with Camera Raw and Lightroom, basically all you got to do is have enough overlap, like 30 to 40% overlap, and the software does the assembly. This was shot on board a sailing ship going around the North Shore of Kauai. But you know, a 5 or 6 shot capture that was stitched together.
Beautiful. And as you know, this is one of my favorite shots of yours.
Yeah. So this, and I'm waiting to see it actually show up. There we go. Sadly, I've been told, I haven't been there, but the corral has now been torn down. This was a horse corral, or it could have been a cattle corral for gathering cattle on the Navajo reservation north of Kayenta, just south of Monument Valley. And it's Agathia Peak, I think is the name of it's a spike that is volcanic that sticks up hard rock that was not eroded.
So you evidently shot that late afternoon. Would that be right?
That would be wrong. This
It'd
is
be early
actually
morning.
probably, yeah, it was probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock, I think.
What's so wonderful about this, it's like it's almost mythic in nature. It's almost like a Navajo Stonehenge of some sort.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the challenges. This was shot on a workshop, but one of the challenges, of course, when you're shooting panoramics is that you got to get there first. So nobody gets in front of the camera. So
Right.
I always ran up, framed it, shot the pano, and then let everybody run off as they will.
Right. Now, where's this one?
Mono Lake.
not everything has to be a multi-capture stitch. This was a single high-res capture that was just cropped in a panoramic. A panoramic is basically a 2-to-1 ratio where it's twice as wide as it is tall or more. I mean, it can be a wider ratio if you want. But this was just cropped top and bottom about 20 minutes after sunrise or sunset and Mono Lake.
Very nice.
Mono Lake, sorry. I always get confused on how to pronounce it. Another shot from Monument Valley along the 17-mile road. Something about the way in which the stitching software will create a very interesting gesture on the clouds when they're wispy like that.
Beautiful. Things you
So
your camera.
Yeah.
yeah, a good friend of mine, Jay Maisel, says, a photographer in New York, says in his experience, it's a lot easier to be a photographer if you actually have a camera. Now, in this day and age, we've all got cell phones, but
Yeah.
I take either my little Sony point and shoot or my big Nikon with me when I travel. And this is Big Boy in Wyoming. He was there. I mean, it's not computer generated. That is something that I try to do. Now, a lot of times I see things and I either can't stop or the light sucks. But sometimes, as Sam Abel, sometimes the universe hands you a treat. And in this case, the light and the location was just perfect.
Very cool.
So a lot of times it's just being there, now, admittedly, you have to get off your butt and go somewhere and do something, although you don't necessarily have to go to an exotic location. Sometimes this happens to be on the road to Toronto to visit somebody, and I don't know why they needed binoculars to look out over Lake Ontario, but I've gotten great shots just walking in my neighborhood here in Chicago.
Very nice.
Again, it's easier to be a photographer if you actually have a camera.
Wow.
And this is an example. I was in Wall, South Dakota, staying, and I was intending to go to the Badlands for sunrise. And Wall Drugs is if you've ever been on 90 in South Dakota, you see all the signs for Wall Drugs, free water, which nice of them, huh? But it's just kind of a tourist trap. And I was driving along and I saw this 80-foot dinosaur. I don't know if it's life-size, a brontosaurus, I think, but I just had to stop. And I didn't even get out of the car. I just shot through the window, passenger side. It, again, the shape and the gesture of the dinosaur in the window, it all kind of works. And then I boogied and shot sunrise in Death Valley. I'm sorry. Then I boogied and shot sunrise in the Badlands.
Wow.
And another dinosaur.
Well, he's dead now.
He is.
Yeah.
Nothing but bone.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So again, weird things. Driving along on I-90 eastbound, I saw this over on the north side and had to pull a U-ey, which is not easy to do on interstates, but I did. Came around and was able to photograph this. It actually exists. It's out just a little bit west of Murdo, South Dakota.
That's great.
Skeleton man eating skeleton dinosaurs.
Yeah, that's very cool. What about the last word?
The last word. So one of the things that you and I, Kevin, had to do is call down multiple bodies of work to a manageable group.
Right.
And so one of the groups that got lost was my portraits of photographers. I took a workshop from Dwayne Michaels, and I had photographed him several years before, but I wanted to, as an honor to him, do a composite, and it's multiple shots of Dwayne talking at a lecture and composite it into a single. And then I made a print and brought it with me and asked him if he would autograph it for me, please. And he said, okay. But then if you know Dwayne Michaels, he's kind of famous for annotating or captioning his photographs. And he wrote in, don't touch the artist. And this was in the current Communication Arts Photo Annual. We had a little discussion because they wanted to crop the text off the bottom. And I said, no, you can't do that. This is Dwayne Michaels. So I convinced them to keep the text. And I actually put him down in the credit on the statue as writer. So I'm the photographer, he's the writer.
That's great.
And yeah, so one of the things that I did was, and if you'll let me share my screen.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let me stop this share. Okay, it's all yours.
There he is.
So this, and you can see this now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so this is Dwayne. I made a print and took it to New York. I went in my quest to understand fine art photography a little bit better. I went to the APAD show at the Armory, which is the big international photo dealers association. And so I brought this print and called Dwayne up and I said, Dwayne, I've got a present for you. And so this is, I went to visit him at his house in Lower East Side of Manhattan, brought the print, and well, first of all, he had grown a beard, which was funny, but he held the print up, put it under his beard and said, photograph me. And so I did.
And those lap things he's got there, they're wonderful. Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's on his lap.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his scarf and his knit hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Dwayne is a real character, along with Jerry Wolfsman, one of my photo heroes from college, and he's 93 and still up and at 'em doing videos, and he's actually doing small print-on-demand, limited-run books. And so at 93, he's a busy boy. And in fact, a real inspiration for me, I'm 70. And even though this is called my retrospective, I'm not done yet. I want to keep doing more and keep shooting and creating and producing now fine artwork, well, basically for as long as I can.
I have one final question for you.
Okay.
Let's stop. Can you stop the share on that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So your professional work seemed to consistently break boundaries, and many of your images required creating elaborate setups. Do you miss that aspect of your practice?
Yes and no. The fact of the matter is that in the commercial days before doing stuff with Photoshop, it would often be days, of set building and pre-production and lighting and testing and getting film back from the lab and making changes. It was a long-term project. And I don't do the exact same thing now in fine art. Although what I have found is that I have to bring the same sort of energy and intention and passion in my fine art work that I did with my commercial work. The big difference is now I'm doing it for free. Back then, the motivation was money. I was doing this as a living, and now with the fine art photography, I'm not doing it to make money. I'm doing it to make art. Right. And that is ultimately the biggest difference between my commercial world and the fine art world is your motivation. And I can't say that my motivation is pure. I'm perfectly happy to sell prints and would like to sell prints, but that's not why I'm producing the artwork. I'm producing the artwork because not doing it is not an option. I have a compulsion. I have an addiction to creating, and I have to do that because otherwise I kind of feel like I'm a shark. And sharks, in order to breathe, they have to keep moving, otherwise they die. So call me a shark, and I'm trying to constantly move forward and progress and do different things. I mean, there were bodies of work that you've seen that didn't get included in the retrospective, and more projects, more bodies of work that I'm putting together. I do get a big kick out of getting portfolio reviews, whether it's from you guys. I always submit more than what is required in order to get the review. Right. But I'm a member of the Center of Photographic Art, and I get reviews from Ann Jastrab. In fact, I got one coming up next week. And I went to Filter Photo here in Chicago and got reviews on print portfolios. That's one of the things that I think my traditional background in analog, I still like making prints. My final piece of art is a print, whether it's the image that I printed up and gave to Dwayne, or projects that I put together as folios or prints that I'm selling. I like the print. Showing stuff on a device or on the computer is fine. I mean, you get a wide audience. It's hard to show, 1,000 people a single print, but you can put it online and get 1,000 views, and you share it to a wider audience. But yeah, so in answer to your question, I do kind of miss the old days, but not so much. The stink of the darkroom. I used to, the rapid fixer was like up my nose, and sepia toning, that rotten egg smell. Yeah, I don't miss that at all.
Right. Well, Jeff, this has been wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this, and we greatly appreciate your support of the gallery. You're a great supporter of Bay Smith Gallery, so thank you.
Well, well, first of all, I like you guys. Everybody in the fine art and gallery realm are likable. You're not in the least bit snooty. So you don't have that Northeast New York City sort of attitude, being from, Texas down under. But I enjoy the work that you guys put together. I enjoy the shows, and I enjoy what you guys are doing. And then Kevin, I also enjoy your writing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so I get a kick out of that. And one of these days, I want to meet you guys IRL in real
Absolutely.
life.
We definitely look forward to that.
And I wanted to thank you for the opportunity. It's been an honor and a lot of work. I mean, this was something that working back and forth, putting together. And originally, I know that you had wanted 12 to 20 of a single body of work, and you liked the cactus tin types, but it was interesting to expand that and to put multiple bodies. I think has been interesting to show kind of the breadth of the work that I've done. And like I said, it's a retrospective in now, and then I gotta keep getting busy tomorrow. I gotta do something different.
Well, we look forward to seeing what you do, man.
Yep.
All right. Well, I thank you very much. And I thank everybody who sat through this and got to see my images and take a look at the show.
All right. Okay, Jeff.
Thank you.
We'll be talking soon again, I think.
Great hat.
Sure. Yeah, love the hat.
Well,
All right.
Okay.
the first time, it's my Stetson, the first time I ever owned a Stetson.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Adios,
Bye.
man.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hasta la vista.
Okay.